Hello.
How's it going?
Hello. It's going good.
Okay, cool. So when you are writing, you mentioned you all kind of write together. Does it normally start with lyrics? Does it start with the music, the drum beat,
Okay.
or like where? What's the process like? As you know, you're all working together right now, but how's it break down?
Okay, yeah, well, we typically focus first on the rhythm sections. That means rhythm, guitar, drums, and bass. We usually do the lyrics last because just for me as the lyric writer and singer, it's easier for me to fit the lyrics to the music than vice versa. However, sometimes we start with a song concept, like a subject matter in mind. Like, I want to write a song about this. The lyrics aren't fully fleshed out until after we write the instrumental part. So we do first focus on the rhythm, then on top of that we add the vocals and the guitar solos.
So now, what would you say the difference in your new album opposed to the first album that I talked to you about is? Like, what growth have you guys had as a band or individually?
Yeah, I feel like the songwriting process has become more mature. I mean, last time we were really, I think, kind of getting our feel for not just multiple musicians working together as a band, but we were kind of sort of figuring out, well, who's who, what's what, and who's got the talent here for what. And as we matured a little bit as a band, each person kind of finds their own role. Like oil and water find their own appropriate levels and so forth. And so whoever is kind of got the idea, the vision, or the initiative for it will do this part of the song or that part, and then we just kind of feel out, does this work together? Yay, no, whatever. And as that's happened, we've become, just more confident and I guess a bit more bold too with like the structure and just the feel of the songs that we've written. So it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it's a natural growth of a band, pretty much. Natural growth. More chemistry among us, more ideas that because we play separately in our places, So we're bringing more ideas this time. Yeah, natural growth of a good band.
Yeah. As I said, I wasn't asking for like band feud stories or anything like that. But I was just like trying to see if like there were anything that was like in the way of recording, or if like you had any good studio stories.
Yeah, so I mean, you asked a little bit about the challenges of putting songs together. I say the biggest one is sometimes you will by yourself come up with a riff that you think is really cool, but your bandmates either they might not like that riff or they might want to change it. Sometimes you get really attached to the thing you created by yourself, but being a group, you have to collaboratively make changes to that. Sometimes it can be hard to digest the fact that this thing needs to be changed. Sometimes you'll write a full song start to finish and present all the riffs, and they're saying, oh, this needs to go, that needs to change, and it can be hard to digest sometimes, but ultimately it is a better result. I think every band member has that challenge. You have to be willing to accept feedback and accept changing what you came up with. So that can be the challenge to work around, in our case.
What advice do you have for people who are looking to either start a band or take their band to the next level?
Yeah, you asked about advice for bands, the guys wanting to start a band. I have two things to say. Know yourself musically and know the business that you are in. That's what I would say. So when I say know yourself musically, is because you don't want to start something, then a few years later finding yourself in a place that you don't like, doing something that you don't like, you just did because nobody knows but you're there. No, know yourself musically and know the business that you are in. Makes a lot of a difference when you understand that this is a business like any other. The other business, yeah, it's not art, this one has art, but it's still a business like any other. So know what you're
That's
dealing with.
valuable to know. That's valuable to know as well.
Of
So,
course.
I'll just go ahead and kick off the next question with you, Bruno.
Yeah.
What are you doing to promote yourself, like as a band? Like, what is Karkaza doing, or what are you individually doing to promote
Yeah.
Karkaza?
We take good care of our social media today, as you might figure, is
Yes.
really important. Uh, take good care of that, and taking a even better and extremely good care of your networking, people that you met in a someone a fair in a show, getting back to these people, answering their emails, and from this guy this leads to another guy and another guy that takes care of a festival, that takes care of an event. So taking care of your social media and taking care of your networking, answering the emails from people that said that they would send you an email. So getting back
Okay.
with these people, taking good care of your image and your social media, and is this pretty much.
Very cool. Very cool. So, like, since I last talked to you, I've actually added a little section to this thing. I normally just ask for a highlight or two, but I'm going for like a low light, a heart, or a hardship, and then followed up by a highlight. So, kind of showing like the low and the high for the hardship. Like what was something that gave you guys trouble, or something that you had to overcome to get to where you are, and how did you make that low light a positive if possible?
So compromise is key. That doesn't go everywhere, but there are plenty of times when just some riff or something in one of our songs, we might just be really kind of scrutinizing that part and just kind of really splitting hairs, and Bruno comes up with something, or I come up with something, and I'm just not quite feeling this, or we got to like work on this a little bit. And so one of us might feel really strongly about any given part, and but in the end, if it's not working, or if we just need to change it a little bit, you got to just be open to doing what works. And sometimes you just get overruled. Sometimes you got to kind of relent and say, well, okay, I'll get my way halfway on this, or 30% on this. And sometimes, well, this just isn't going to work, so just kind of bite the bullet and make the best of it. And it all ends up working out in the end, because ultimately the stuff still sounds good.
So let's move on to the highlight part of the question. What would be a highlight that you care to share with the Uncontained audience? Not necessarily the highlight of your career, just something that's badass that you care to share.
That's a good one. Well, overall, sometimes I just get really extra excited on stage at certain shows. Just those moments when I can lead the whole audience into a mutual victory chant. Those are some highlights. Just those
Nice.
moments here and there when I can tell that I have the whole audience in this victory march chant with me. That's pretty cool.
Well, for me, it's every time I don't have to concentrate so much on playing the song, where I've got that, and I can just we've got a really heavy part, and I can just really rock out to it. Like, it's really groovy, it's really rhythmically charged, and I can just rock out to that, get down and dirty, head banging and whatnot. Those are always the highlights of the shows for me.
Perfect.
Yeah, for me, is the show too. Actually, if you ask any band, they probably gonna tell you this is the show. You work for the show, you release albums for the show, because the highlight of this business is the show. Because recording is not fun. Recording is work, It's work to get the album done. What is fun is the show. So yes, the
Yes.
highlight is playing live for your audience, and that energy, that is the highlight.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. All right, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming back on the show. I've had fun catching up with you and hearing about your recording process and what you're going through right now. And I'm honestly looking forward to the new album coming out this spring/summer at some point. You'll have to let me know when that comes out, and I will pass the word on for sure. But I have that one one final question for you three. It's the title question of the show. How do you live uncontained?
I actually got this, a giant scorpion on my forearm,
Yeah, I see that.
to commemorate the fact that, by the way, I got this scorpion even before we made it the logo. We made it the logo after everyone thought it was cool. So I got it to commemorate the fact that I strongly believe with every piece of my being that it is never worth it to sell out what you really want and need in your own life for a promise of security. You know, never sell out what you really need to do for yourself in order just to get safety and security. No, because there is no safety even in living a life that doesn't fulfill you when you're doing things that you do not like and do not want to do.
Well, I'll tell you, I was about that far several years ago from going into the visual effects industry, doing digital effects for the likes of television and film and video games. And that took me about like one ankle deep, and ultimately I decided, well, this wasn't going to work because that was right around the time when I got back to playing in guitar and bass as well. And of course, that's when I joined forces with them. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to do, both. If I devoted my time to one, the other wasn't going to work. So I hit that crossroads, and the writing was on the wall. So I decided, I had wanted to do this 10 years before that even. And
Yeah.
so I decided I got to do this now, or else it's never going to happen. And so I just committed myself to it, full blown, full steam ahead. And I decided, well, guitar, bass, whatever, I'm just going to do this if it kills me. I don't care.
Yeah, in my case, I've always worked with management of all sorts, business consultancy. That's my major. So I've always worked with management, but music was always been my favorite. I was just working with the wrong people back then. Now with this band, I'm glad that I'm working with the right people and with the thing that I like the most, music. But management has always been something I've been doing. But now I've in the management of something that I really appreciate, that is music. Before I try to do that, but I was not working with the right guys for this business. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that we are going forward. We are releasing another album. They're being able to give this good, cool interviews for guys like you, cool guys.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So are you kind of the business mind behind the band too then, or do you take care of most of the business aspect?
Yeah.
Okay, alright, cool. It's always good to have those guys around. Alright guys, I appreciate you taking time to talk to me today and spread the word about your upcoming album and also drop some knowledge on my listeners as well.
We are Karkaza.
And we live uncontained.
Perfect. Thank you so much, guys.